Welcome to the EntrepreNoob podcast, a podcast about the ups and downs, risks and rewards of business. Each week, you will hear about the unexpected victories and epic failures experienced by your co-hosts and invited guests throughout their journey of entrepreneurship. Grab your notepad and thinking cap as they explore ideas and expose challenges faced by aspiring and seasoned entrepreneurs. And now, introducing Adam Bussey and Steven Johnson, your co-hosts and humble test subjects.
Hey, this is Steven.
This is Adam. Welcome back to the EntrepreNoob podcast. Steven, how you doing today?
Good, man. What's going on, Adam?
Good. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Here we go. Steven's got some good stuff for us today. He's throwing out a few ideas we were just talking about before we got on here, and man, this is some. Well, you guys are in trouble. Here
That's
it goes.
funny.
So, tell them what you were just telling me. You said that you get a little. I don't know. Are you getting frustrated out there with the customers that don't want to do any marketing? That bother you?
I wouldn't say I'm getting frustrated about the fact that they aren't doing business with me. It's more of the fact of I know the opportunity that's out there, and a lot of the businesses I deal with are local here. A lot of the ones, you actually go to the restaurants. You use the services of these businesses, and you want to see them do well. And you just have to wonder sometimes, what is the block that's keeping some of these businesses from moving from a more traditional form of advertising to now the digital form, because that's where we are now. The world is now ruled by the smartphone more than anything.
And a lot of people, I don't know that they actually see that. It's surprising how big the internet has gotten and how much it's still growing. But still today, right now, you meet people that, they're using it, but their businesses aren't on there themselves. You know what I mean? They built a website, right. They posted up some stuff, but they truly aren't using that the power of the internet yet. They haven't capitalized on it.
Well, the funny thing is they are using the power of the internet, but they're using it from the wrong side. They're using it as a consumer and not a producer. And if you think about these business owners who, it's their decision on the marketing that they invest in, these business owners will they'll go downtown and they'll go sit down at a restaurant or a bar, and they'll get them something to eat, and they'll look around and they'll see other people in the restaurant. And they'll look around, and what they'll see is they'll see young couples, they'll see families, and what these people are doing is all of their faces are in their phone. And that business owner will look over there and he'll say, man, what's going on here? Why are these people not communicating? Why are
I think I've even heard them mention, I wish I sold phones, but they're missing what's right in front of them.
Right. They see it going on, and then they go home and they scroll Facebook for an hour. They look on Instagram. They consume the content, but they don't monetize their own business.
That's
with it.
Right. I have a hard time, or I did have a hard time. I guess I'm getting a better grip on it now. You kind of beat it into my head. The actual putting of your business online is more than just your address, phone number, and a contact me page. You know what I mean? And EntrepreNoob, wow, I feel like a noob right now. This one here, because there's a lot of guys going like, duh. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
These people that have been selling online, I think, have a really strong understanding of the fact that everything has to be online, the entire sales process from beginning to end. I think they know that, but there's a whole group of business owners who are brick and mortar, or even less than brick and mortar. Service businesses that don't even have brick and mortar buildings. They serve people in their homes, and they're struggling to see that everything went online, that their customers no longer looking in the yellow pages for them,
Yeah.
And what is this new internet thing?
Well, I think that is a good question
all over again.
I think it is a good question to acknowledge is what is this internet thing? I think that's exactly what's in some of these, these people's head. They don't understand it, and that's part of the reason why they don't invest in it.
Because,
that's right. You have so many people who are offering these services because, we are moving into that digital age. It's an exciting time for people like myself who offer these services. And when you have so many people trying to sell you these services every day, you're getting multiple
There's a lot of gimmick
emails,
salespeople out there that are just trying to grab a couple $1,000s from all of these business owners who are grasping at straws. They're like, hey, we know something's out there, but we don't know what's out there. And these people just step in and be like, hey, give me $2,000 and I'll, I promise you the first place on Google, and, we're the best thing since sliced bread. And the only thing is they're talking about something that you've heard is what you're supposed to be doing, but you're clueless and you're busy. So how do you balance that? Well, you throw money at it half the time, and
right,
it's not always the answer.
And on that point, I'll give you a story real quick about a friend of mine who recently had a situation just like that. I had a friend.
Don't say friend. Just say strange, like a person you heard of.
A person I heard of. I'm working with this person that I just heard of. I'm working with them a little bit here and there on their website, and here recently I got up with them and they told me that they had someone come into their business and walk in and try to do a door-to-door sales for SEO for them. They tried to come sell them some SEO services, and this person was not very familiar and had no understanding of how SEO actually works. And this salesman walked in there and he said, for $300 a month, I can have you #1 on Google. Now, he was able to come in here and tell him he could do it for $300 and get him to the #1 spot without knowing one thing about his business.
If that's his salesman's pitch, that's his last customer, at least in that field anyway.
Well, talking about how he was able to make this bold prediction of the first spot. #1, you cannot guarantee anything with SEO because there's so many factors that play into it. There's one group who is one of the bigger digital marketing groups, in the country. They have claimed that there's over 200 factors that affect SEO, anywhere from the age of your domain, the amount of content you have on each page, the structure of your page. There's so many factors that come in. So #1, you can't make that kind of guarantee. #2, if I could guarantee you right now that I could get you to the #1 spot, how much would you say that was worth to you?
Well, I beat out all my competitors. You might have a hard time convincing me what it's worth, but it's actually it's pretty close to priceless because if you're beating out all the other competitors and you're at the very top, I mean, I don't think people...
So you would say you would agree that priceless is more than $300, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no limit there.
So this is an example of that scammy type deal that you're talking about, and so what happens is when a legitimate search engine optimizer comes in and speaks to the same guy and sits down, learns about the business, and comes to the conclusion that, look, this is the state your website's in. This is the amount of content you have out there. And lays it all out. And let's say this person's website, they just built a website in the last 3 to 4 months.
Right.
The truth is it's going to take at least 4 to 6 months, if not a year, to start ranking this person anywhere. And it's going to definitely cost more than $300 because of all the services that are going to be required to actually get this website optimized. So when that client looks at this salesman and says, wait a minute, I just had a guy come in here the other day and tell me he could have me get to the #1 spot for $300 in the next 2 weeks. Now, how does he know who to trust? Now, you would think that after listening to your expertise and knowing what you're talking about, that he would be able to sniff that out. But the money and that dollar sometimes gets in your head, and you're blinded by $300 versus $1,500, and it's just you don't pull the trigger as a business owner. There's a lot of confusion being put out there by
business owners fall for that quick fix a lot of times. That's what's so bad is that those, I don't necessarily want to call them shysters. I think that the business owners a lot of times get themselves in a desperate situation to where they make it easy for these other companies to just swoop in and take $300 a month from them, and they turn on a little robot that puts up 2 keywords a month, you know what I mean, on something, and they're like, there, we solved your problem. Well, these guys don't know what they're doing. It isn't enough money to bankrupt them, and they're just needing to give themselves some peace of mind and say, hey, I worked on it. And that's the sad part, is the business owner is really vulnerable because he's found himself in a desperate situation where he knows he needs to improve it, but he hasn't taken the time or doesn't think he has the time. I don't think that you can avoid this obstacle. I think you have to deal with it as a business owner. And so many of them aren't. They think they can just wait till later or address it in another way, but I really think a lot of them is just going to not be in business soon if they don't get a hold of this.
Yeah. Well, one more story on that topic of scam artists, which apparently I guess I'm going in on the scam artists today, is I spend a lot of time researching local businesses. I look to see what the SEO score is of businesses nearby who maybe I can go talk with them. And there was one particular golf course that is nearby me, and I looked at some of their statistics and some of their organic web traffic, that kind of stuff, and I saw, wow, they're getting quite a bit of organic traffic to their website. But it wasn't a shock to me because they're a very nice golf course, and I said, I wonder what keywords they're ranking for. So I went down and I started looking at some of their local keywords. So 45% of all their organic traffic was coming in from one keyword phrase. You know what that keyword phrase was? Cheap NHL hockey jerseys. Now, how much sense does that make?
Does the golf pro there sell those, or what? What's the story?
Right. I don't know what the story is, but here's what I'm thinking. 2 possible things happen. Number 1, somebody came in here, told you they were going to get you some organic traffic. They said, look, we can get you 1,000 extra viewers on your website. They went in there and they somehow found a way to use an irrelevant search term to start getting these people to rank, this business to rank higher. And I actually saw how they did it. They've got a hidden page on their website that if you go to it through the software I use, they've got about 100 links up on the top of the heading of their homepage that you cannot see if you just go to the regular website. So it's no value to a consumer at all.
Right. So if the guy, let me ask you, so if a business owner was to check his organic traffic just to see, he might see it driving, 200 people a month. Would he be able to observe it right off as to why that organic traffic was coming, or would that be something he could easily overlook with the untrained eye?
It could easily be overlooked, and that was what I was going to say. That's possibly what happened here. I would say that's probably what did happen.
So business owners we're okay. They're just not buying from us. They're all just coming and looking at our site and leaving, and not even recognizing the fact that, as to the reason why those customers were possibly on that page.
Yeah, and also you would think that they would realize that, yes, and by the way, this was about 880 viewers they were getting per month because of this keyword.
Wow.
You would think that if you were getting 880 additional viewers, especially organic viewers, that would somehow translate to additional dollars in revenue for your company, which there's no way it was. That what was happening was these people were clicking on the website thinking they were going to find cheap hockey jerseys, and they could have been looking from anywhere in the world, and then it turns out that it's a golf course in North Carolina.
And that person's just going to click off.
And then they leave the page.
As soon as they get there, it's going to click off. And doesn't that negatively affect the way
it does. That actually lowers your search ranking. So what happened here is you thought you were investing in something that was going to help you rank higher, but it turns out you've paid for a service that actually causes you to rank lower. And it's all from the smoke screen of, hey, look, you've got 880 new viewers. You know what I'm saying? So there was nothing positive that came out of that for the business. And that, again, is just another scam that we're talking about.
And I feel for us as business owners out here, because, you focus on your customer, your product, delivering that product, your sales team, training all of your team. And you get all of that done at the end of the day, and you turn around and you're a little short on customers. So you return back to marketing, and I'm talking about, the business owners that are small business owners that are switching their hats, where they're sales manager one day and marketing director the next day. These guys have to turn around, and you can't look long and hard and spend weeks and weeks on this. I say you can't. You actually have to. If you don't, spend time to find the right person for the job. If you don't spend time learning what your company needs and where the sore spots are, you're not going to be able to fight your way out of this problem. You know what I mean? So I had something.
Yeah.
The other day, me and you were talking about getting a business going. I told you about one of my mistakes, and that was that I didn't see working with my hands and doing book work and accounting and budgeting as the same thing. That I always was just like, I'm going to outwork it over here on this other side, and I'm going to neglect this other work. This marketing thing fits right into this, but I was telling you that, and afterwards I was like, I know the analogy now. The analogy is a guy's in a boat, right? And the anchor is at the bottom of the lake. And he decides he doesn't enjoy, he doesn't know how, he's never done it, whatever. He's never picked up an anchor and put it in the boat before. Whether he's cranking it up or pulling up the rope and throwing it, he's never done that before. But he loves to row boats. So this is the business owner that I was. I was like, I'm not going to learn how to pick up the anchor. I'm not going to put it in the boat. I'm just going to row like crazy. And I'm going to row faster and harder. But I'm avoiding this massive obstacle. And I'm just like, I'm going to outrow the problem. Well, I don't care if you put a jet engine on that boat. It's going to suck if it's dragging a anchor on the bottom of the lake. And the business, you lift it a little bit more. But it's truly not efficient until you learn to row well, learn to put the anchor in the boat, you know what I mean? Learn to steer the boat, all the other things that go with it. You can't just neglect one side and work like crazy in the wrong direction. It's just never going to balance. So business is about balance. It's about learning a little bit of everything as you go along and not neglecting for long periods of time certain areas of your company.
So what would you say is the number one anchor that people don't want to pull up?
Well, our topic, I really think this is one of the big ones, is marketing. A lot of people are like word of mouth. I'm just going to do better customer service until everybody tells everybody. And I got news for you. A company knows how to do marketing will do in a year what it takes you to do in 10 with word of mouth. And every company wants word of mouth, but without marketing, I mean, you're dead in the water. It's just not a thing. Especially in today's age, because people are not relying on, talk to my cousin about it. They Google it faster than they ask you. I've asked people a lot of times, and I ask them, and while I'm waiting for them to answer, I just Google it. I already got the answer. Thanks. It's just not an age of asking your friends like it used to be. So that's a way we've been taught, but it's not real anymore. I don't think it's real.
Well, I think another thing that happens often with businesses who are service-based business is they know that they're limited on who they can do business with. They know it's probably people local, maybe within, 20, 30, 40 miles. And they're thinking, they think of Google or, a search engine or the internet as such a large thing that they're like, I'm small, I'm local, that isn't for me. I don't need that like some, Amazon or some subscription-based business or a retail company. But actually, local services, people search for local businesses a lot. And 28% of local searches result in a purchase. So the question is,
wow,
where is that purchase being made? So, if there's 4 companies, which by the way, there's 20 or 30 companies in the heating and air repair industry in Rowan County alone. So if you let's say you take 4 of those businesses and somebody has a need. Somebody comes home from vacation, and when they come home from vacation, it's July, it's the middle of the summer. It's a family and their kid. They come home from the beach on Saturday, and it turns out that their heating and air conditioning unit broke on Tuesday, and they walk in their house and it's 100 degrees. So what's the first thing they're going to do? Dad or mom
service,
are going to pull out their phone and they're going to say, heating and air repair near me, and they want that service now because the little one needs to get in the house, but they can't go in there because it's hot. So when they go online, they see that there's no local businesses appearing in the organic search results.
So let's just say I'm on a devil's advocate here. I have a website up in Rowan County for heating and air. Why are they not calling me?
Why are you not being called if you have a website up in Rowan County?
28% of the Google searches result in a purchase. I have a website up. They just came home from vacation, and I guess they called somebody else because I didn't get that call.
Right. Well, you have a website up, but does Google know you have a website up? Because you're not the only business. You're not the only company relevant to heating and air in Rowan County.
I'm a devil's advocate.
Like we said, there's
more. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but so I'm not the only one. How do I beat them? What is the deal? Because heating and air, Jim's heating and air, Dan's heating and air, Adam's heating and air. What do you mean Google doesn't know who I am? How do I tell Google I'm over here and that I'm probably a better person than Dan's heating and air,
Right. So here's the thing. You very well may be a better business, have better customer service than all the other companies, but that does not matter at all if Google doesn't know it. What I mean by that is Google is in the business of providing the best service they can for their customers. Because
I have the best service.
Well, whenever a customer types in heating and air in Rowan County, then Google needs to know who to pick out of those 20, 30. And the way they pick is by understanding as much as they can about your business. Now, the only way they can understand your business is if you give them information to work with. So if you don't have a website, they don't know anything about you. If you do have a website and each page has 200 or 300 words, and your competitors have 500 or 700 words, chances are there's going to be more relevant information about those businesses that Google can trust them more than you. So that's one thing you can do. You can make sure you have more information, more of a higher word count of high quality content on your pages, and that's going to give Google more information about you.
Okay, so Google
I think
would
you would
just
agree that if
Google would just pick me over them just for the word content alone. Or you said quality.
Not just for the
quality. So I'll
give
you that.
Yeah.
So I can't just say heating and air, heating and air, heating and air, heating and air.
No, you can't do that because that is not valuable at all. That if a customer went on
Let me
there
go edit my page real
and
quick. Hang on.
Yeah, there you go. If a customer goes and sees heating and air, heating and air, heating and air, what does that tell them?
That tells them you're really.
That tells them heating and air.
Really
That's all it
excited
tells
about
them.
work today.
Right. Yeah. But I think you would agree that if you were going to tell me who you were, Adam Bussey,
yeah,
and I was going to tell you who I was, and we were introducing each other to me, and I said, hey, I'm Steven.
yeah,
And then you said, hey, I'm Adam, this and this and this and this, and you told me about you, which one of us would know the most about the other person? I would know more about you because you explained certain things about you besides just what your name is. So if somebody came to me and they asked me, who do you recommend for X? The chances are Adam Bussey would be recommended more than Steven Johnson because we don't know anything about him besides his name. And if my name was Steven Heating and Air and your name was Adam Bussey, and neither one of us told anything else, then maybe I have the edge there.
Yeah.
But there's a multitude of factors that come into play, and the less content you put out, the less factors that you're involved in.
Right. So I feel like, and it's still some of it's a bit fresh for me because this is a few of my sore spots here, but when you're putting out basic quality content on a page, it's so hard for, I'm going to speak for some other business owners. Maybe they'll hear me here. Maybe someone will agree with me and not just tell me the noob that I am. So so I want to put out a bunch of content, but we just want to do heating and air, and we do a good job, and we're on time, and we're quality, and call us. We're at such and such a street, and can't wait to get a phone call from you. I mean, this content thing, what is this content that you're saying? Explain what this content is. Is it detailed? Is it specific? Or is it almost more generic? Or is it anything related to the field? Like, tell me what this, you said quality, and I know, is that, making sure that it's grammared properly? Is this making sure that I've explained how heating and air works? Or is this just, what is it? So tell me what you think the most valuable thing is.
Those few things you just named right there are important. You want to make sure your grammar's right. You want to make sure that you're providing value, which is essentially what quality means. You are actually writing content to where if a person reads that, they see you as the expert. Because like we said before, now you have more businesses every year. More and more businesses are coming to existence in the United States, which means there's more competition. Consumers have more options. So they need to know, why are you different than this business?
So I'm just going to plug that right there.
So
Google, I'll let you finish. Go ahead. I'm going to come back to that. Go ahead.
Okay. So you have to separate yourself from other businesses, and what the customer truly wants is a quality service that's affordable, and they want a solution to their problem. That's why they went to Google to begin with. So when they're competing and they're looking between all these different websites, if they come across a website that has content on it, that gives value, that shares how to do this, what happens when this happens, and it's not simply, this is what we do, call us, then that positions them as an authority and an expert in that field, and they trust them more. And that's why people buy. They like and trust the company that they're dealing with. So this is simply, as what we talked about before, putting your business online. And if you think about it, if you truly are an expert, it's not going to be hard for you to come up with this content. All it is proving to the customer why they should pick you. And yes, you have quality service, but everybody says they have quality service. When you start putting content out on your website, that's whenever the rubber hits the road. That's when they look and they say, wow, I can tell this person really knows what they're doing. This person knows what my problems are. They just put it right here. It says, what happens when this? Is this happening to you? This is what you do when that happens.
Yeah.
And the consumer's sitting here saying, that's exactly what my problem is. This is how you solve it. I'm going to have them come out here and solve this problem for me. So that's what it is. The content is not meant to get you to rank higher on search engines. The content is meant to provide value for the customer. And that's why Google ranks you higher, is because that's their goal. Because whenever that quality service is provided and that solution is given to the consumer,
yep,
Google makes money from that. So that's what it's about. It's not we want SEO, let's do content. It's we need to tell these customers who we are, and then therefore Google rewards you by ranking you higher in the search.
I've seen that one thing on your website you wrote on there. I think it said something like Google didn't create the keywords or something. Your customers did. That's good stuff.
Right.
Because that is the ones who are searching that stuff, and Google's just taking those terms and saying, hey, that's what your customer's looking for. Pay attention. So is it safe to say, this just came to me while you were saying that, while you were talking there, that thousands of more businesses are showing up every day on Google. Google is listing everybody. Google isn't forgetting anyone. Google knows what's happening with every business that's out there. But the cream has to rise to the top. So Google has to say who's better than the other guy. Well, in a world where it used to be a word of mouth, one business was better than the other business. It used to be Jim installed my heating and air better, which is fantastic, and you do need to know that. But what if, and is it true now, that not only did you install the heating and air better, but you also built and put a bigger and better company on the internet for that customer? Like, that's part of customer service now. It's not just putting in the heating and air system, but it's building an online website with the content that helps the customer. That is now customer service, and that's what provides better value. And Google says this is a real company, and because of that initial customer service, Google then presents your name first or higher or better ranking. So is that where a business owner would be better to serve his time, isn't it? I mean,
I agree with you. I do think that you could classify it as customer service, and I would say the reason why that's a good term is because your customers expect you to be online.
Yeah, and when you're not,
that's an expectation they have.
Yeah, naturally, because that's what everybody's doing. I mean, like you said earlier, the business owners are out consuming content. Why are they not putting up their content? And they expect the customers to just know. But when I'm looking for something, I go to the internet. And if you haven't put your business on there in that way, you're selling yourself short. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. So besides what you were talking about your rowing the boat analogy there, are there any other hang-ups that you think is the reason why business owners don't allocate anything for marketing? I mean, I've talked to several business owners who's told me that they'll say, hey, I spent $80 on marketing last year. I don't do marketing. And it's like, what is the thought process there for not doing any marketing at all?
Wow. That the thought process there is either a beginner or a already maxed out revenue goal that they believe they've already maxed out everything. You said there's 30 heating and airs. Did you say that? 30 in Rowan County?
Yeah, at least.
Think about what small amount each one of those are sharing, that one of those could dominate and take all of that. So basically what you just said was there's 30 companies here, and I know 2 to 3 could dominate. So all of those other heating and air guys who think they're maxed out, who think they're online, who think their website is doing all it can do, are basically just scarfing up the crumbs scattered on the ground and left over from, the one or two that are dominating in that field. I guarantee there's only one or two that are actually getting the leads, and these other guys, rather than dominating, are just picking up the scraps. And so it's rooted in a non-belief that they could do better. And some of them, I will say that I didn't lack belief. I just lacked know-how. You know what I mean? How can I get it done? Scam 30 times from, different people on Google that said they're going to handle it. While I'm out just working like crazy, I'm just rowing the boat and going, someone else can handle that anchor. Someone else can handle that online stuff. I'm going to get back to work. And absolute wrong approach. So out of ignorance, out of belief, I don't know how to blame them. But marketing is like going out and buying customers. It is well spent money, and no, you can't leave it unattended, and no, you can't not manage it. It has to be managed. But it is the way that customers come in. A good number, I think most companies, a good standard is 5% of your revenue goes back into marketing. It's just a good number. Just dedicate 5%, spend that money, but don't hesitate, and make sure you're managing how that money's being spent until you learn, how to generate those customers.
Yeah, well, like you were saying about the businesses, the few businesses probably in each town or area that could dominate, you'd be surprised. I've actually looked at most of the local businesses. Like I told you, I do research on their SEO scores and things like that just to collect some data on it. And there's one business locally here who is dominating so much that they actually have 2 pages ranking on the first page. They have like their home page and then one of their service pages. Wow. And that is very, very rare to have the same website with multiple pages ranking on the first page. And I actually am pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it was the number 1 and the number 2 spot. Now that is bringing in lots and lots of traffic, because the top 3 positions of organic search rankings get over 2/3 of all the clicks.
Imagine the impact on you if you're searching, what's the best bowling alley or what's the best restaurant to eat at, and some restaurant pops up, Jimmy's. It pops up Jimmy's on the first spot and Jimmy's in the second spot. It has an impact on that customer as to who's the best one to call,
Right.
Because Google told them it was the right answer twice, And Google doesn't like to
that's right.
give you the wrong answer. So people just tend to trust them for that.
And another problem, like we were talking about with the content and, people not putting out content. Some people are putting out content. You'll look on their website and maybe they don't have a blog, but they do have quite a bit of good content on their pages. But there's another problem they could possibly have, and that is how the content is structured.
Yeah.
So imagine, you are writing a paper, and, the first step is you put your name up at the top.
Can I just row the boat? This is difficult for me.
Yeah, well, you put your name up on the top left, you put your date, you put the class you're in, the normal stuff that you did whenever you were writing a paper in college. But let's say that's how your page is supposed to be structured, but instead you write your paper and you start at the top with your conclusion. Then you do like the body of your paper, then you put your name, then you write the intro, and then so everything is all backwards. So when Google goes down your page and they start looking at stuff, they're saying, what the heck is this? This makes no sense.
Right.
But you have the content on your page that is valuable, but Google doesn't understand it because you didn't structure it correctly. So that's actually something that can be taken care of fairly quickly.
Can you give a percentage value to that? Do you know, like if I wrote the same content as you, and yours was structured a certain way and mine was structured a certain way, what is the percentage rate do you think Google would value yours over mine? You know what I mean? Is that a right question for that?
I would say that it's, I wouldn't be able to give you a specific percentage, but I would say that the person who had their stuff structured better would dominate the other person.
Yeah.
Because the structuring is kind of the foundation of your content. You know what I mean? Like anything that is a foundation of what's going on is going to be heavily favored over the other.
Yeah, and Google just goes there and looks for that structure so it can deliver data. And if the structure's all over the place, I mean, it's like bringing rubble, So if it's the only content, I could see Google saying, yeah, I'll show this, but, best of luck to you. But it would probably seem like they would prefer well-structured content over just content in general. I had some other questions about, the quantity design of a website or a landing page, and how much you thought that impacted it over, like you said earlier, over it just answering my exact question, black and white page with no images, no fancy buttons, but it answers my question. What would you prefer?
So
would you prefer quantity, or would you prefer design, or just a good layout? What do you think is more pressing if I was a business owner wanting to update some stuff?
My approach is, if you truly want to invest in your company and you want to grow and you want to use your website for what it is designed to be, which is a lead generation machine, that's what your website is, then you want to have everything in order. There would be no reason for you to say, I just want to do this much. Because to me, it's like, if you've made the decision to invest in that, then you do have an understanding of the value of this digital marketing. So why don't you just do a full-scale attack, come in from all angles? Why would you leave off something that could possibly be a crutch for you? So an example of that would be, you have a website. Your website is structured properly, but you haven't invested in the design. And what that means is you're generating a lot of traffic. A lot of people are coming to your website, but when they get there, there's nothing for them to do. Well, you just drove traffic to a website that there's no point. You might as well have no traffic, because you have no calls to action. You have no actions or specific purpose for your website. So in that position, the design was negative for you. Now, on the other hand, you have a beautiful website. You have it totally set up for, if a person comes to the website, you're going to convert these people into customers, but you're not getting any traffic. So you might as well not even have a website, because nobody's looking at it. So now, you have to come at it from all angles.
Yeah.
So now let's look at it this way. You have a website that is structured nicely. You have a great design. You're generating leads. And let's say you're a retail business and people are buying services or products from you. You're an e-commerce website, something like that. And, people go and they add items into their shopping cart. Well, when they add items to their shopping cart, they dump their cart, they leave the website. You don't know why they left the website. And yes, you're still making money, you're converting a certain amount of customers, but wouldn't you want to know what the reason is why that customer left their cart?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to be able to reapproach that customer and offer them the ability to come back and buy that product for a lower price? Or there's so many things that you can do with digital marketing, it's unbelievable. And if you told a person about it, they would sit there with their jaw hanging wide open, and they would be thinking, this is scary, this is an overreach.
Yeah.
The internet has taken over our entire life. But then they won't turn around and implement it in their business. So you pretty much, if you're going to do it right, you need to attack from all angles. So that's my point of view.
What's funny is that's the same analogy that I was using with the boat and a business in general, is that you got to attack from every aspect. You need to be rowing good. You need to make sure the bottom of the boat ain't covered with barnacles. You know what I mean? You need to make sure the anchor's up. And, it's just a lot of things that make sure someone ain't hanging over the side. And, it's like having the whole thing as a clean package. So in business, it's like you're not going to fix it all in one day. It's a big, daunting task, or it can be, depending on what your expertise is. So you attack all of these points, just like everyday business is. You work on some sales, you work on some product fulfillment, you work on a little bit of marketing. You got to keep hitting those 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and never leaving one of those to go dry, because trying to build one of those into a monster, you'll end up shutting your business down, because when the other one dries up and goes kaput, it's like a flat tire on a car. You're not going anywhere until you go fix it then. So it sounds like that singular online marketing strategy or online presence strategy is about hitting all of those points. It's content, quality content, design, and like the retargeting you were bringing up there.
Yeah. And not only is it true that those are great things and it's kind of the way things are transitioning, but I would agree or believe that most businesses want a good return on investment on any amount of dollars they spend for their business. And there is no better return on investment than something that you can track and optimize. So in the past, we've had a lot of traditional marketing. People put up billboards, they go in the newspaper, they get on the radio. But how do you know who heard your ad? How do you know who saw your billboard? You don't know. You don't have any feedback. Somebody may come in the store and you say, "Hey, how did you hear about us today?" And they say, "Oh, I saw your billboard." Okay, how many times do you think that happens?
Yeah, I know that
it doesn't happen every time.
Yellow Pages.
So you're missing out on data.
Yellow Pages used to have, a number. It was like the first technology I was ever introduced to. Is the Yellow Pages would give you a special number that would track the calls and forward the call over to your business line, and then they would tell you how many calls came from it, because they were trying to quantify, and produce value for you for the dollars that you were spending with them. And now with what you can do with like the internet and tracking, people who are reading your emails, people who are working in the cart, people who are reading your articles, all of the stuff that you can do now, quantifying it, it's almost even more difficult now because there's so many tools. It's like, who do I want to track? But the tracking is exponential, what you can do now, which is awesome.
Right, and when you're talking about the Yellow Pages there, that was probably a pretty good technology they had there in that time.
Yep.
But all you knew was how many calls you got. You didn't know who called. You didn't know where they called from.
Yeah.
And all that is, good information. If you're located in one city and somebody calls you from somewhere halfway across the country and you're a service-based business, that's a useless call. You need to know that. You need to know how they got your number. Why did they call me from there? Is there something wrong with my marketing? Right. These are things that you can learn by having the data. And when you have the data, now you can go in and you can make adjustments. So digital marketing is just a lot better for a return on investment than traditional marketing. And we are seeing every year go by the amount of spending in marketing less for traditional and more for digital. So in general, there is a transition going on. It's just a matter of who's making the transition, who's making it first and who's making it last. In other words, who's succeeding and who's failing. Because the businesses that are not investing in digital marketing, they're in business today. They're still in business. They're still opening up the doors. But I would guess that they are sensing things are going wrong, what's going on here, and they're probably doing some things to try to make up for some small losses they're having here and there that is actually negatively affecting their brand or their business.
What would you say? You asked me earlier. I'm gonna throw the question back at you. So I told you 5% is what you ought to be spending on marketing. I mean, those are just numbers that you hear in books that you read, and it's what I've been practicing for several years now. And putting that money back in, what would you say, or how would you encourage somebody not only to spend the 5%, but how to find somebody that's doing what you're doing? What are those key points that what is it that you do that is different than the others? And I'll tell them, if you don't know the answer, I'll tell them what it is that you do that's very different. But what do you think it is that you do, or how could someone find you and pick you out of the crowd versus the shyster? What is the difference when you're looking for a company to take care of your online presence for you?
Right. Well, in a world where there's so many people who are offering these services, and I believe part of the reason why you have so many people offering SEO services in particular is because of the value of the service if it's done correctly, because like you said before, being that number one spot on Google is priceless. And because of that, you attract a lot of people who want to offer this service because it's lucrative. You make a lot of money. So knowing that, a person who's doing like what I'm doing, or me specifically in my position, I have to know who my target customer is. And I have to understand that everybody's not going to do business with me. Everybody is not a good fit. And you want to do business with somebody who you can have a long-term relationship with, because that's what SEO is. It's a long-term game. And you want to do business with somebody who understands the value of what you're doing, because it's hard to go up to somebody and sell, hey, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how long it's going to take, and the price tag, you don't start seeing results until 6 months or a year down the road. That's why you need a person who understands the value of it. So a way that you can tell the difference between somebody who knows what they're doing and somebody who doesn't is exactly like that example we talked about earlier. It only makes sense that if you understand the value of being number one, you know how many clicks that will get you. That if somebody comes in there and says, I can guarantee you to be number one, and they don't tell you how, and then they say it's $300, and you know the value of being number one is way, way more than $300. So this guy, there's something's wrong here.
Yep.
Or if you have somebody come in and they say, this is the position your website's in, this is how long it's going to take, and you can sense the expertise. They've done their research. They already know about your business. They know about your website. They have a plan put together. Yeah. Here's a keyword package. Here are keywords that in your particular area you can rank for. You can win these keywords. You're not competitive enough to rank for these. They tell you the positive and the negative parts about your business, so they're not just blowing smoke at you, buttering you up to make a sale. You can tell the difference between somebody who truly wants to grow your business, which is that's what SEO is.
I love
that is to grow your business.
That your company is actually structured. And I almost like to give you a little plug here, but it's just the fact that I'll tell everybody, when you're looking for somebody, you're looking for somebody that's working hard and isn't just, if anybody sounds like a quick fix or a lottery win or the magic wand, I promise you, beware. You can throw some money at it. It'll appease your conscience and make you think you're handling your company, make you think you got that boat anchor up, or you at least worked on it a little bit. $200 to $300, $400 or $500. I mean, I hate to use amounts or numbers there, but whatever you're throwing at it, even $10,000. If you're just throwing money at somebody and you don't understand it and it isn't logical, and someone's just like, hey, we're gonna pop you up in the first page of Google, beware, because anything in business takes work. It takes effort. There's what's the name of that old country song where it says, I got it honest, I think is the name of the song, but basically he's just talking like anything I got I worked for. And these people are just trying to grab a couple $100 from you, or $400 or $500, and saying, hey, we'll put you at the top of Google. They're throwing that lottery winning out there, the winning ticket, just to take your money and appease your conscience. So basically, I say don't fall for it. Look for someone that's working hard, and getting in the trench a little bit.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. It's, and like I said, it is a long-term process, and you have to have that long-term relationship with your customer, because the last thing you want to do is, as the customer, spend 3 or 4 months investing in someone, and then you dump them, or you're not seeing results, and now you have essentially wasted 3 months of however much money you were paying, and you don't know, is it too soon? Are results not showing up yet? Is it supposed to be that way? Or is this person even doing anything?
Yeah.
So that's why you definitely want to make sure that the person you're working with is legit on what they're doing.
Yep. So realizing, I guess, putting all this together, we didn't really define the fact that there's big Amazon companies, that companies like Amazon that are big, that have been on the internet for years, that know all of this information. We're talking about, this is the EntrepreNoob show, so we're talking about these businesses that get started. They're in service businesses, they're in small retail shops. We're out here in the trenches trying to figure out how to do this stuff. So, that's who we're talking to, and recognizing that the world has gone digital. I know we all know it, but it's like we wanted to this episode was just about bringing to fruition just how much deeper, or how much more attention you need to give to that. It isn't just throw a website up. It's not just put my products online. It's a much deeper understanding of bringing your whole business online, putting your business online so that Google knows, you're everything you think you're cracked up to be. So Google is aware of it and knows it, and they can present that to the customers that are searching you.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So I had a question for you, Stephen, was content versus quality, but you kind of you just said, that work ethic that you got, you just said, I ain't compromising on either one. I guess that was your answer for that.
Yeah, you need to.
You do both.
That goes back to that goes back to not being weak in any position. You want quantity, you want value, you want quality, because
that design's got to be
one
right.
of those.
Yep.
Because at least one of your competitors is going to have one. How do you know they don't have them all?
Yeah.
The idea is you're not out here to compete. You're out here to dominate. There's no reason why you wouldn't dominate if you are able to implement these strategies, because you may not be number one. There may be somebody doing exactly what you're doing, and they may be doing it a little bit better. But I promise you, if you implement these strategies, you're going to destroy 90 to 95%. And I don't usually like to put out numbers, but the only reason I'm doing it this time is because I've actually went in and looked at hundreds and hundreds of businesses and seen that almost none of them are doing these strategies.
Yeah. So Google has to show the cream of the crop. They have to.
Yes.
And the only way to get up there is to be the cream of the crop. So that's to get better, do better, and work on it harder and stronger. It's not a joke anymore. You can't just put up a website. I feel like I said that 30 times already, but it is not. A
website is no longer enough.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, man. Where are we at here? You had jotted down a couple other things. Did you have anything else there?
I think we pretty much covered it all. Besides maybe one other thing, and that is, especially with COVID-19, businesses are having to pivot. they're in a position where they have no choice. They cannot do business, and it's changing now because
excites
things are
me
opening
so
back
much
up.
because I think there's whole businesses that are going to explode out of this and develop like out of thin air. There's going to be new businesses are going to change exponentially. I know it's added a whole new dynamic to mine and things that we're doing, about to create almost like a new product, but a new way to for my customers to get my product. So I cut you off.
Yeah, and it's almost like the circumstances are a steroid boost to the transition that was already occurring, because it has actually forced businesses to move into that digital space quicker than they wanted to. And
I know, I used a lot of
is
online mobile ordering so I could pay with my card, so I didn't have to hand my card to the window, at certain places, and it's like, hey, I already ordered it, I already paid for it, and
and
less handling.
There are some businesses that, well, just let me ask you, do you think there are any businesses that are incapable of pivoting and going digital?
That's a good question. The only thing I think the business owner is the one who blocks it from going digital, and where I see it the most is probably on government websites, where they launched it originally, was a big push, put everything online, and now when you go to those sites, the customer service side of most government, like your DMV, just certain tax pages, not doing good thinking of the different ones, but you go on there and those are the sites that are giving you the poor customer service from a design perspective. It's like all of the data was loaded, but the design it's never been caught up, So I'm waiting for that innovation.
And most of them, to be honest with you, they're not even compatible with mobile devices. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a municipality or, a tax office or a DMV, like you're saying, and if you pull it up on a mobile device, you can't even see that. You have to zoom in to see it, and now that what that's done is made it where you now have to move the screen side to side because the letters are too big.
Yep.
And that's a really, really big problem for search engine optimization as well.
COVID was going to help some of that. It's going to show that sore spot as being more real as they try to do more things online. So I'm hoping a lot of that will get improved. But no excuse.
Well, I agree with you.
Online, man.
I don't think there's any business who is incapable of pivoting, and the reason I say that is because we're talking about entrepreneurs here, and they achieve fantastic things. They come up with stuff that's never been heard of, and maybe there are some businesses who will go out of business right now.
Yeah.
But somebody in that industry will find a way to pivot,
dude.
And then they will set the standard for those other businesses to maybe come back into business, or from that point on, you're going to have a new business that's offering the same service, but somebody will figure it out for the rest of the group.
Yeah, I remember 2007. We had a big downturn in the economy, and I took a big hit and shut down my company shortly after that, and reopened again after that, and it just wasn't happening, and ended up pivoting, finding a new avenue, and returned kind of back to what I was doing at a future date. But in my endeavor and doing some other things during that time, I'll be brief here. The only thing I can say is that pivoting is always what you have to do when there's a downturn. It's like there's no such thing as in my mind, I'll say this, in my mind. Everybody else can continue on thinking like they were, but in my mind, there's not ever a bad economy. It is a different economy. And what it does is it literally chops the legs out from under everybody who thought things were a certain way, and it you have to pivot. And if you're unable to pivot, it will take you down, and it will look like a bad economy, and it is a bad economy for those that it takes down. But the innovators come right in and like, oh, this is what's new, this is what's next, this is how it is now, and capitalism takes over again, and those people run and develop big companies out of the downturn. It's because the economy didn't go bad. It just went different, very different because of something that inflated too much or was pushed too hard to one way and stretched to the max, and it forces it to make a change and shed its leaves and, prune it up. That's what it does.
Yes. That's that adaptability.
Yeah.
Being able to adapt to the circumstances.
Yep. So complacency is what kills business, so never be complacent.
Well, I think we covered a lot today, and I'm looking forward to our next episode because we have one of my good buddies who is going to be a guest with us. And
yeah, that's going to be good. I can't wait to talk to him. And
yeah, I'm sure he's got a lot of good things that relate to business, and I've had quite a few conversations with him, and he's one of them guys who he is not a normal guy. He's not your average dude. He seems like every time he opens his mouth, he's got something coming out of it that's of value. So,
well, the EntrepreNoobs could use it.
Looking forward to having him on here.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll see you guys later.
All right.